Violence! Death! Women, men, soldiers, villains, fools, and corpses. You have come today to watch them all battle to the end, here in the Butcher Circus! You bowed before your patrons. And today, it will be my pleasure to give you a special treat, a wonderful, rare treat! You laughed hysterically, and the crowd roared. You turned and pointed at the gate behind you. The League of Villains was so kind to donate us a real live Nomu! The creature banged against the gate like a frightened animal. And the people in the audience went wild. You could have sworn some of them were fuming with excitement at the thought of this bulky creature cannibalizing the first human it encountered. Who is ready to see a savage beast of a man tear our lovely contestants limb from limb? And who will bet it all on our fighters? It's a gamble I'd be willing to take. Once again you laughed as you spread your arms in enjoyment, drowning in happiness as the roars around you got louder. Human depravity. A constant that you could always count on. People like to see themselves as above violence, lust, and greed, especially with heroes running about, claiming to do heroics because that's what people do. No, there wasn't such a thing as a good person left living in this world. They could never make it past the age of 16 without their entire worldview being challenged to the breaking point, where they would become just like the rest of them. And that's where you came in. The thing that was keeping society together was an outlet for human instincts. A place where humans could be the animals that they so desperately wanted to be. You could give them that, and your grotesque circus, hidden within the Camino Ward sewer system of all places. There, within a city of homeless, you created an underground entertainment empire, where people acted out their most vile fantasies. All for your own profit. The centerpiece of it all was a large wooden structure built up to the sewer's ceiling. The circus. Your circus. Where people young and old could come to watch people with powerful quirks sodomize each other. There were only two rules. Never take your mask off. And as a contestant, you were not allowed to hurt the audience. And if you did, you had a special punishment for that. Oftentimes the viewers of these events came in the hopes of that happening. Admittance as a contestant was free, and their pay was a percentage of the bets people took in their favor. As an audience member, you were given an iron mask that covered roughly 80% of a person's face. Only mouth and eyes were revealed by them. This was mostly because of your quirk, hedonistic gaze. Through simply looking directly into a person's eyes, you could make their body exude large amounts of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. And depending on the mental state of a person, this meant they would go berserk, guaranteeing that even a one-sided match between contestants would still make people come with excitement. Another reason for the mask was the surprisingly large amount of celebrities you had catered to. You were convinced that at least a quarter of all children born by the rich and famous in the city were a result of orgies you had organized. And who were you to judge a child for that? After all, a poor man could force themselves on a rich young superstar, giving the man's child a fortunate childhood that the kid would definitely not experience otherwise. At least that's what you told yourself, to feel better. After you finished hyping up the crowd, you made one last twirl, making sure to look into as many eyes around you as you could, before strutting out of the sand-covered arena. Your destination was your very own private lounge, where you dined with your VIPs during the spectacle. And today's VIPs were none other than the entire League of Villains, or at least what was left of them after their scuttles with the heroes and Yakuza. As soon as you entered, you heard them applaud you. "Man, I've been looking forward for this day," said one of them, a guy with burn scars all over his body. You clapped into your own hands excitedly. "Oh, don't flatter me. You have given me a gift most kindly." You continued further into the carpeted room until you reached the window that looked down at the arena. Already 2 naked men with physical quirks were brutalizing each other with their fists in the sandpit. "I hope the big guy wins," giggled a little blonde girl next to you. "They're both big." "No, they're not," said a masked guy behind her. You crossed your arms and smiled. "You have quite an interesting ensemble, Tomura," you mused, and turned to face their leader. The white-haired man scoffed. "Yeah, whatever. I'm not here for this massacre." You raised an eyebrow. "You're here for business." "Just like me. But that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the bloodshed, can we?" You chuckled dramatically. "Besides, who comes to a circus to talk about money?" You pointed towards the door. "Stuff like that is better talked about in private and—" "Oh my god, he ripped his cock off! Tomura, can we come here every day, please?" shouted the girl. And you chuckled, gently petting the girl's head. "I like her, Tomura," you said seductively towards him. "She isn't for sale, you wench." You scoffed. "Shiggy, my dear, you should be glad I'm in a generous mood today. The last person to call me a wench was quite literally gutted by my beloved audience." "Seriously?" shouted the blonde. "When was that?" You scratched over your chin and thought. About 2 months ago." The girl's eyes widened. "That was when I told you about this place, Tomura! Oh, I could have been there." Shigaraki sighed. "Can we please go now?" 5 minutes later, you found yourself in the quiet closet. Well, at least that's how you called your meeting room. "This place stinks," he complained after sitting down opposite to you. "I remember you quite liking it here. I'm disappointed." Tomura looked away. "What business did you want to discuss?" The man sighed. He blushed. You had seen this face before, many times in fact. With a dramatic sigh, you put a hand in front of your mouth. "Oh, Mr. Shigaraki, if I didn't know better, I'd think you took a liking to me." This happened unsurprisingly often with your business partners. Men tended to be more generous after you had used your quirk and assets on them. It was in their nature, after all. But Tomura was different. You had known him for a while. His caretaker, all for one, had been a patron of yours, for many years in fact. You practically raised him together. "No," he said almost too quickly in response to you. "I simply demand a bigger cut if we are supplying nomos to you on a regular basis." You felt insulted. "Tomura," you said softly. "You know I have trouble declining you." He blushed again. "But I'm afraid I have to this time. Your nomos are contestants. like everyone else. If I were to treat them any different, my patrons would think I'm rigging the fights, and I would lose money. You smiled devilishly. Tomura, you understand that as much as I do. What is the real reason you wanted to enter my closet? Your eyes met and he groaned as his brain overreacted to your quirk. In truth, you had been playing this game since the beginning. His caretaker was a very well-paying customer. It would have been bad for business if you didn't take advantage of it. But you had to admit, he could be a sweetheart if he wanted to. Tomura inhaled sharply. With an embarrassed chuckle, he combed through his hair. I'm not coming on to you. His eyes betrayed him. Licking your lips, he placed both hands on the table, separating the two of you, and leaned forward. Oh, are you now? You said seductively. He looked away. Yeah, fine, he growled. Oh, fine what? He shivered. I felt something, okay? You chuckled. Felt alone, honey? He made a noise somewhere between a squeak and a grunt. You gnashed your teeth in delight. You didn't hate men. You absolutely loved them, and their predictability. You crawled towards him on the table, taking off your own iron mask. When you were just mere inches away from his face. Remember? You used to call me Mommy. Your eyes met, and his body began to shiver. You were such a cute little boy, Tomura. With one hand, you reached down to his crotch. And you've grown so much. This is wrong. He pressed through his teeth, and you scoffed. Oh, baby, the rich elite pays me millions for private events, where they can do whoever they want, however they want, and whatever they want. Also, we aren't even blood related, so it's fine. You winked as he tried to look away, but his own body refused to follow orders. All he could see was your wild hair and face right in front of him. He was breathing heavily at this point. Ring Master, Shush, you interrupted. Call me Mommy. For a split second, he confided within himself. I love you, Mommy. He acted quick, like a spider ready to capture its prey. He screamed as you injected a needle into his neck, shooting a blue glowing liquid straight into his veins. For a moment he was paralyzed, and you moved in closer to his ear. Quirk suppressant. You can touch me all you want now. You chuckled darkly. I was generous with it. You have 40 minutes. I'll only need 30, he whispered. You suppressed the need to laugh hysterically. You would make sure he wouldn't last more than 10 minutes. The Nomu entered the arena, its thick, oiled muscles glistening in the light of the arena. Toga jumped up from her chair. There he is! Finally! She shouted. Behind her, Dobby stood with his arms crossed. I bet a whole bunch of money that he won't make it past the 5th opponent. Toga giggled. Oh, I think it can beat all of them, she said and smiled. Just then, the Nomu lunged forward at its first opponent, some guy with a telekinesis quirk. He tried to keep the monstrosity at bay by using rocks he had carried in a bag as projectiles. But the League had learned from their past mistakes. The beast had not only shock nullification inside of it, but also a quirk called Berserk, which meant the longer the Nomu remained active in battle, the stronger it would become. Especially when its wounds began to mount. Toga got up from her chair. I'm gonna tell Tomura. Our fight has started. Happily, the blonde skipped to the door Yu and her boss had vanished a few minutes ago. Not thinking of knocking, she immediately opened the door. Tomura, our fight has... She stopped mid-sentence as her eyes widened, seeing you naked on top of an equally naked Tomura. You grinned and covered your chest with one arm as you turned towards her. Sweetie, would you please close the door? Name is Toga, groaned the embarrassed Tomura, and you chuckled. Toga, honey, mind closing the door? The shocked Toga didn't know how to properly reply. Sure thing. Opting to simply shut it and return to her seat. You missed the Nomu biting the guy's head off. Like, literally. Clean off, said Dabi with an amused smile. Answered Toga. What? You look like you've seen something disturbing. They're doing it. Dabi blinked. Huh? The girl looked up at the edgy chicken nugget. The ringmaster and Tomura, they're doing it.